This is an industrial revolution, a technological revolution. We're never going back. Never going back.
All right. You say we're never going back. Ooh, that's a very powerful statement.
You can look in your refrigerator and say, I've got eggs, I've got onions, I've got bacon, and say, what recipes can I make out of that ChatGPT? And it will give you several things that you can create with the leftovers in your refrigerator. Isn't that amazing? You want to create your own way of talking about it, your way of doing something. That's your unique sales proposition. Without it, you sound like everybody else in your industry, and we don't want that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chatting with the Experts with me, your host, Paula Okonneh. I typically speak with women from Africa and the Caribbean and women in the diaspora, and they always end the show with having taught, inspired, or educated women globally. But I've had some exceptions. I've had some men be my guests, and today, I have a woman who is not from Africa. She didn't immigrate from Africa or the Caribbean, but she is amazing. Her name is Angela Heath, and she's going to be talking about the magic of AI. Yes, the AI that you hear about all the time. But before she comes on, I'll tell you a little bit about her. For over 25 years, Angela traveled the country as an expert speaker, trainer, and consultant. Her clients included small business owners who want to gain visibility by their expertise through simple AI and creating their own books. She has been recognized by numerous organizations for her speaking abilities and innovative solutions. And if we talk about numbers, she's had one Distinguished Alumni Award from the Miami University. She has 2 International Public Speaking Awards. She's got 4 books, creating 6 figures each, 5 national awards for clients, thousands of speeches and trainings, and 30,000 people have been trained by Angela. Isn't she amazing? She is. I'm answering my question. So with that, I want to welcome Angela to this episode of Chatting with the Experts. Angela.
Hello.
Thank you for being a guest, coming on and being a guest. And you're going to talk about the magic of AI, because when we hear AI these days, it's never positive. So you are going to change that today, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, everybody. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much. First of all, I love to call you Podcast Paula. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this opportunity. I really have been watching you over time and just amazed at your persistence, your professionalism, and how you're just growing this and exposing women that sometimes may not get the shine that they deserve. Anyway, AI. I am an enthusiast. ChatGPT came out in November, a year and a half ago, and in 2 weeks I learned about it, was falling asleep at the computer, playing around with it, trying to figure out how can small businesses use AI to build. It's amazing. And yes, everything we hear on the news is usually negative, but I'm here to tell you that as a small business builder, you cannot afford to overlook this. This is not a trend that's going to die out. This is us living in the future. This is an industrial revolution, a technological revolution. We're never going back. Never going back.
All right. You say we're never going back. Ooh, that's a very powerful statement.
I mean, think about it. When you think about every technology revolution, remember when the World Wide Web came out We had some of the same discussions. There were parents saying, oh, our kids are going to be dumbed down. They won't have to think. They're just going to go to this www thing and get all the answers. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's scary, but that's why I brought you on, to take away that fear and make it real. Because I've listened to you, just as you said, you've been following me, I've been following you. And you have really kind of made it simple enough for people like me who had heard AI and all the negatives to realize they are tools. AI is a tool. Somebody, I think it was you, who mentioned it's like a hammer is a tool. It was you. And you can use a hammer for good or you can use it for bad. And so that's the same approach you take with AI.
Absolutely. Now, we do want to exercise some cautions. There are some things we need to do, and I'll try to mention some of those as we go along, because we do want to make sure that we're using it in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. As I said, if you haven't heard about ChatGPT, you must be living under a rock.
I think everybody has heard about ChatGPT. It was created by an organization called OpenAI. It's about a year and a half old, and it is amazing. There are two opportunities to use it. One is a free version, and it works just fine. It's just when there's heavy usage, you'll get knocked off. Or you can get the upgraded version. It's only $20 a month. And so if you do things like customer service automation, generating content, generating visuals, if you do things like synthesizing data and data analysis, you want to go ahead and spend the $20. So I thought what might be helpful, because I don't know where people are with their understanding of it. Let me walk you through. I have the paid version, just a couple things about it in terms of how you use it, and then I'll give you a couple examples. Is that good, Paula?
That works for me.
Okay, great. So if you have the paid version, you get access to ChatGPT 4, which is the fastest trained version. And let me just back up a moment. Let me just tell you what this is. It is called generative AI, a large language model. And basically, all that means is that they have researched the way people talk, the way people write, and it's predictive. You can put part of a sentence in, and because it's been trained on so many documents and conversations, it's actually predicting what the next thing will be. Similar to a Grammarly, if any of you have used that, it's predicting what you meant to say, what you should be saying. It's similar to this, and it's just trained on so much data that it's unbelievable. So that's all ChatGPT is. It's a large language model, and there's lots of other tools that are built on top of ChatGPT. Now there are other companies that are introducing their own large language models, but I think most of us right now still prefer ChatGPT. Now, if you have the paid version, here's some other fun things you can do. Just click on your name and you can see this thing called GPTs. These are really cool, and you can create your own. You can create your own. So you go over to the GPTs and you'll find some of these opportunities where you can explore them. And they're GPTs on all kinds of things. Some of them are free, some of them you pay for. Writing for me, it'll tell you all the ones that are trending. So you got a logo creator. If you're just starting out, you don't need to pay money to get your logo. You can generate your logo right here inside of ChatGPT. You'll find coloring books if you've got ideas for coloring books, and you can just click on them and you just follow the directions. It's not very hard at all. So you got your graphic design, you got productivity, research and analysis. You just click on these and follow the instructions. It can even teach you how to code. Now, I am a non-technical person, and if I can understand these things, I am positive that you can understand them too. Now, you can also go over to customize. GPTs. And you can put your own custom instructions and create your own GPT.
Wow.
I love this. And I want to show you, you just follow the instructions. I mean, we could probably do one right now. Let's
Yeah.
say if you wanted to, what would you want to do? Podcast, Paula, a customized GPT on?
Oh, that's a good question. How about how to create a blog post?
Okay, create a SEO friendly
You're right.
blog post. And you just save it. And where did it happen to? Where is it? It should just pop up. It's not there.
Would it be under Angela Heath? Would it be under?
No, it should just actually pop up. Let me see. Maybe it's here. Blog post. All of these things change so much, but here are some where you can generate your blog post. I'm not
Okay.
sure if this is
Maybe it was
out.
just that was a bit too generalized.
Anyway, we can look at any of these if you want to create a blog post, and it will just do it for us. That's the thing that I like. You can say start, and it'll start to ask you questions. How can I assist you with your blog post today? I would say, give me some ideas on blog posts for podcasting. And all the GPT does is ask you questions so that it can give you the best information. So it'll just ask you questions. That's all it is. It's a way for us to use ChatGPT to help us think through how we want to approach things in our business and even in life, because you can do one about recipes. You can look in your refrigerator and say, I've got eggs, I've got onions, I've got bacon, and say, what recipes can I make out of that ChatGPT? And it will give you several things that you can create with the leftovers in your refrigerator. Isn't that amazing?
That is simply amazing. But I will ask a question, which is probably a question that's going through some of my listeners and viewers, because I do create a podcast from this, is that what's the difference between me customizing my own, we just started creating my own GPT and just using the GPT-4 to ask the same question?
Well, this is the difference. When you create your own GPT, you don't have to keep thinking through the steps every time. Like when you're working primarily with ChatGPT, you have to create it every time. So if you were going to try to get to the same thing that we got to, you are a blogger. And you might say, give them a role. You're a blogger. What should I blog about if I am a podcaster? You might have to drill down a little bit more if you go straight to ChatGPT.
Okay.
It depends. It depends on how specific you want to be. Because with the GPTs, you could have said, what blog post do I want? I don't know blogging that well, so it's hard for me to come up with examples. Or what else do you need when you just blog? You get the content, and what else do you need?
I may need like show notes. Can you drill down on one exciting example that the guest spoke about?
You could say, what would be some good podcast episodes? You can say, how would I create the show notes? You just keep feeding your GPT. So then when you go and start it, it just does the whole thing. It'll question you and it'll create the whole thing. If we do it just through ChatGPT, we have to go by each step one by one. So we would get, okay, here's some things that we need to do, the EXO recaps and all of that behind the scenes post. It'll give us that, but then we'd have to query it again. So it would be like, I guess, a GPT, a custom GPT. You put all of your queries in one. So it'll just keep going for you. So you've got that option when you have the paid version. And here's something else. You can go under settings that I think is really important. You can personalize things, right? With your theme, with your system. It's simple, dark or light. You can also personalize with memory. Now, you can tell it what happens with PT is usually when it gets to a certain point, like if you're using the same chat, you should only use one chat for one topic. If you're going to do another topic, start another chat. The memory starts to get fuzzy. So when you turn on the memory, it's going to remember you so that it's going to be more personalized to you. If, like, for example, people who are using this for clients, you may want to have your memory turned on when you're writing things for your company, but when you're writing for your client, you may want to turn it off because you don't want it to remember that. So you want your client information to sound like them. This is personalizing all of the content to you. You can also look at speech. It'll allow you to speak, and you can build out your profile, right? Where you can put your links in or LinkedIn, and you can add some others, right? And then your security settings.
I was just about to ask you that now. Okay. All right. Let's see that.
Yeah. So those are some additional settings you get when you are a paid customer.
Okay. So I'll stop you there.
Okay.
For people who are paid, even if you create your own personal ChatGPT, your personal GPT, how can you prevent a question that you asked from being used? Because all of this is predictive. All of it, you're generating content, but it's still being looked at by human beings. How do you prevent that from now being publicized?
Now,
privacy in that.
OpenAI says that the rumors about your information now going to another user is false. They say that they're not serving up your content to anyone else.
Okay.
So I guess we have to believe them if we want to use it. But here's the thing. Here's a safety tip. Don't put any proprietary information inside of AI unless you have your own proprietary large language model, which some companies are creating. Some companies already have. But I would not put in here, my secret formula for anti-aging. If I had a formula that I have this cream and it's been proven, it really works, you don't get wrinkles or whatever the case is, you would not put your formula in there. So anything that is proprietary, sensitive, you will not put that in there. Don't ever put social security numbers or where you bank. Some people won't even put their address in there just to be on the safe side. Even though the creators say you don't have to worry about that, but I would not put any sensitive information into any of these tools.
All right. Thanks for answering that, because that's one of the scary parts. Those are some of the things I hear people saying, that AI is already it's pretty new. And of course, we hear all the negative things put out by the media. But one of the scary things is what you just mentioned. If you put in your information there, how are we sure you're not going to see it show up on the web at a later date?
Yeah, just be cautious. It's like You go into any marketplace. I consider this a new AI to be like a new frontier, it's a new marketplace. You are cautious. You don't go into any store and, just put your credit card information down on the counter. You keep it in your wallet or your purse until you need to use it. So it's the same thing. I feel like we just don't put anything out into any public space, virtual or in person, where it can be stolen.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, one other thing I wanted to show people really quickly is, and again, every time you do a new topic, you're going to do a new chat. So we come up here and start a new chat because that was about blog posts. Because I don't want it to be referring back up to blog posts since I have my memory on. I don't want it to refer back up when I'm asking it this new question. So that's how you get all of these different chats here on the side, is because these are all of the different chats that I've asked. I cleaned mine out. I used to have lots of them, but these are all of the different chats that I have. And so we do a different chat for each one. And in this case, I got a lot of different things for customers. I want to show you this too. There's so much. Okay, you see the new tone. So this is the tone that I use whenever I'm writing. So if you create your tone in your style of writing, which I encourage everybody to do, you keep it as what I call virgin chat. I'm never going to go over here to my tone and then ask a question. Whenever I want to use my tone, I'll go up to the beginning of my tone. I'm going to copy all of this because, see, I gave it enough content and I told it to train on the tone.
I was going to say, what does stand for? Well, that's Angela Heath.
That is the name that I gave this particular tone. I have 3 tones that I write in.
Okay.
So you can have as many as you like. Most people only have 1. So I trained it on the tone. It says, okay, so I kind of understand who is. And then they tell you, hey, she's going to ignite fire within, urging her readers to believe in their potential, bold actions. This is my tone. So whenever I'm ready to write something in my tone, I'm going to copy it. Just a regular right click, copy and paste. I'm never using this virgin chat. So I will go up here and I will create a new chat and I will say create, I probably will say using the tone below. Right, I guess it would help if I could spell, blog post about never giving up on your business. Then I would say the tone is, and I'm pasting that tone in here. And I'm telling it right in that tone. And so now it's going to give me something that sounds more like me. Hey there, fellow trailblazers. Have you ever felt like you're being pushing a boulder uphill? I say that in one of my programs. I always talk about pushing boulders uphill. Let's face it, the path of building a dream can sometimes feel like a nightmare, but before you throw in the towel, let me share some secret sauce. I use secret sauce all the time. Resilience is not just a buzzword. It is. So you see how this is not generic. It's got some of my words in it. I talk about Colonel Sanders all the time because this man didn't even start until he was 65. My audience is people 40 plus. So I'm always giving them examples of mature people who've done phenomenal things. This is my tone. Now, let me show you how you create your tone. Let's go over to a new chat. You can do it a lot of different ways, but this is the easiest way.
And all of this, folks, is using ChatGPT the paid version, correct?
You can do the tone on the free version. You can train it on your tone on the free version.
Okay.
So I go over to a new chat and you see this little paper clip here. This allows you to upload some blog posts, articles, whatever it is. I click on it. It's going to take me over inside my computer. And in this case, I am going to find my fourth book, the entire book. And I'm putting this entire book into ChatGPT. So now what I can end up with is a chat bot on my book that answers questions from my book, and it's not going to get information from anywhere else because I'm going to tell it answer from the book only. Answering from the Do the Hustle book only. How does a freelancer grow their business? So whatever you put in here in terms of your brand brilliance, you can now query it. You can create all of your content. I tell people, if you do a book and you're using that book to leverage your business, you have no more problems with social media because now you've got content for 6 months to a year. All you've got to do is upload it. So I'm going to ask it to answer this, and I'm going to say, create an article. You want to tell it where you're going to post it for LinkedIn.
Okay. I was going to ask you if you can.
And let it use the content that you've uploaded. It's going to pull out your tone. It's going to pull out your style. And it's based on this book. And it's going to do the work for you. Now, this will be something that you don't have to do a lot of revision on. But I always tell people it is a tool. You never go to ChatGPT and say, write me a book, write me an ebook, right? No, and then just think that is great. No, everything you pull out of here needs to be vetted. Don't take any statistics. This is another safety issue. Don't take any statistics as gospel. You can even tell it, give me the data and give me the sources. But I have had the situation where a source was not even there. It created its own source. So never take statistics and data out unless it's vetted.
All right, let me stop you there. You said the source wasn't there in that ChatGPT made up the source itself.
It did.
Oh my word. Okay. I guess that feeds into the fear that people have about.
It feeds into the fear, but that's another safety precaution. If you want numbers and data and things like that, you can go to Google, and I don't care where you go. Always vet your numbers.
Always vet your numbers.
Always vet your numbers. And statistics, we always want to vet it. So you see here, it took it from the book. It took my style. It took my tone right from the book. So if you're uploading things here, it's going to take your content from whatever you're loading into it to train on the content, the style, the tone.
Okay, going to stop you again just for a second to say, so in other words, I know that a lot of colleges, universities were a bit wary of ChatGPT because they felt that plagiarism. But what you're saying is that if you create your own original article, document, whatever it is, and you feed it into that, it's going to give you answers based on your original article. So there is no plagiarism in that because it's your article.
Right. And this whole discussion, if you're training it on your content, it's going to grab your content, and you can always tell it, use my content only. If you really want to be sure, you could tell it at the beginning, use my content only. You can say it at the very end before you input, use my content only. I'm
That's
not
good to
really
know.
sure how plagiarism works unless there are people who will put into ChatGPT and say, think like Einstein, use some of his writings. If you tell it to do stuff like that, I can kind of see where you might get, but I don't really know where the plagiarism has come in because I've done a lot of testing on it. I don't ask it to write a song like Michael Jackson. I don't ask it to go over and get Michael Jackson's last three songs and analyze. I don't do that. So people who are using the name search and things like that, it's almost indicating to it, go and get that data. But if you are someone who's building your own brand, when you're building out things, you do the same thing. You do your research, right? But you want to create your own way of talking about it, your way of doing something. That's your unique sales proposition. Without it, you sound like everybody else in your industry, and we don't want that. Does that help?
Yes,
Okay.
that really clarifies a lot of things because I know those are questions I've heard from people. How can I sound like myself, but if I'm using ChatGPT, I'm not sound like a robot, for want of a better word.
Right. And then even with this, you can always say regenerate, adding a little more humor. Now let's just try humor and see what it does. But you can tell it, this is not quite it, ChatGPT. Give me a revision. Make it. And I already started off from freelance fumbles to business booms. That's a little more humorous than what it was. What was it at first? At first, it was leveraging your freelance skills for business growth. So you see, it
Yeah,
made it a little more humorous for
it
us.
did because I got a chuckle out of it this time.
Master your craft like a boss.
Mhm.
Broaden your horizons and your income. I like some of this.
Now, as it's generating that, can you now take like point number one, master your craft like a boss, for example, and ask it to expand on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can. So, for example, when you give ChatGPT a lot, like if you tell it produce 8 things and you do it in one chat, it's going to be short. Those 8 things might only be a couple sentences because it can only generate so much at a time. So the easiest way is to have it break down a topic into chunks of information. So let's do number one. You said master your craft like a boss. And here it's really just telling them to improve their skills and sharpen them, with words and things like that. That's not really that useful. Okay, so let's go and tell it to help
You
us.
copy that, okay?
Yep, we copy it, we take it down, and I'm pasting it in. I would say expand number one, and I'm going to tell it what I want it to do. Create 4 subtopics that are unique and would be helpful to, and I can name my target audience, let's say women who have been in business 5 years. So now I'm telling it to break it down, but I'm also now giving it a little more information about target audience. I'm going to cover target audience in just a minute, how we get very specific information about the target audience. And so now what it's going to do is going to give you some subtopics, right? And then what you can do with the subtopics is expound them even further. So say you looked at this and you said, hey, I like this master your craft like a boss. I'm going to have it included in like this general article, but then I'm going to take a couple of these topics and I'm going to go deeper into them. then you can have it go deeper into each one of them. So for this one, you see that it went from, and why is it using those numbers? Oh, it's staying in the same number pattern.
Yes, I was about to say, so it's like,
I don't know why it stayed in the name. It's probably because of memory. Thing is not perfect. That's why I say you are going to take this and analyze it and make sure that it sounds like you is accurate. So advanced certifications and training, cross-industry skills application, mentorship, two-way, strategic networking. So now it's giving you a little more content just on that one thing, but you can go even further. You can copy this and say, hey, I want to do an article just on the strategic networking. Provide me with an 800-word article on that or a blog post or whatever.
All right. So, Angela, I remember earlier on you talked about the AH tone, the Angela Heath tone, where you mentioned that we can use that. We can create a tone, something that sounds just like you, and then feed that into ChatGPT so that when it generates, like in this case, we want to generate an article. This is a generic query. Now, if we wanted it to sound like you, could you take this and still tell it, make reference to your H tone, or no?
You can, if that is, I think this is a new chat. I don't think I have my tone in here.
Ah,
I have the book, it's training on the book.
the book.
All you have to do is go over and grab your tone and say, use the AH tone and tell it what to do. But I didn't pull my tone over. That's why I say the tones are virgin. That's a virgin thing that we want to be aware of. But yeah, we can do that.
Okay. That was just a question.
Now tell me some of the things that you have heard from other people. Why are they afraid of AI? Because I want to deal with that. Tell me why are people afraid of it?
One thing, and that came up with my last guest, was that people who understand how AI works, just as you're explaining to us, have taken it, as you mentioned, as you could use a hammer for good or for bad. You've disappeared. Okay, there you are again. So to repeat your question, you asked the questions that I have heard. So I guess I had mentioned how some people are using ChatGPT, and my guest was a Christian. So she said some of them are using ChatGPT to generate journals or generate GPTs or programs in which you can ask it to talk like Satan, for example.
Okay.
And these things are being distributed to children, and I'm kind of paraphrasing.
But see, that goes back to what I said. It's a tool. It's just like a hammer. We can use it to build a home or we can use it to bash a head. So there's nothing that we can do. It's not the AI fault. That is the Satanists, what they choose to do with the tool. Just like the person who's running around the streets of New York with a hammer. Nobody's going to arrest the hammer. Nobody's going to say, oh, let's ban all hammers from Home Depot. It's the people. It's the people. And so I don't know how you get around the people. If I could figure that out, I'd be a trillionaire, wouldn't I? How we get around evil people.
Yes.
Let me show you a couple more too, because I know your time is short.
Yes.
But I want to show you an AI detector tool.
That's a question I was going to bring up with you, because I know of late that has been another bit of concern, that they're going to be AI detector tools, because when AI first came out, people were literally just putting in the information, whatever it generated, they used.
And that's crazy. As professionals, we would never do that. It's just like you don't hire a ghostwriter or a copywriter and then they give you something and you never look at it, right? Anything representing our brand, we're going to look at it, we're going to vet it, we're going to make sure it's correct. And you do the same thing with AI. So let me take this content here. I'm going to take it over to one of the free AI detectors. I like Quillbot. And you can either upload a document. Of course, I have the free version. If you get the paid version, you get more space. Or I can just paste my information here that I just took out of ChatGPT. And then we can see what percentage of this sounds like a human versus sounds like a robot.
This is neat.
And this says AI generated 100%.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. So let's take that same thing. I haven't tested this in advance. So this is the way you would play with it. I'm going to take that same content. I'm going to put it down into a fresh chat, just pasting it down in there. I'm going to go back up to the top. I'm going to put my tone in. Let me find my tone. Oh, it was down at the bottom here. And then I'm going to tell it to use my tone and see how that does. There's my tone. I'm just trying to make sure I don't lose where we are. I won't lose where we are, hopefully. And I'm going to highlight my tone. See, I have all of these things that I want to keep. I don't only just keep them on ChatGPT, because what if ChatGPT disappears tomorrow? Then I'll lose all of this work that I've done. So I have everything in a file folder.
On your computer.
On my computer, and up in Google.
Okay. So that's good to know, because that's the same thing as I've always said to people. If you are a small business owner, don't just use Facebook or LinkedIn as a means of publicizing or marketing yourself. You should have your own website, and you still store all that information on your hard drive, back up that hard drive, because if something happens to LinkedIn, something happens to, the social media platform that you're using to store your information or market yourself, you are going to be in trouble. So thank you for pointing that out.
Oh, yeah. I have backups to my backups.
That's the wisest thing to do, because technology always fails.
Right. So I told it to use my tone when it writes this next thing. And then I wanted to just pull some of this content. Let's just use a little bit of this. I'm just going to use a little bit of it because I told it to rewrite it using my tone. So the rewrite this information. And then I'm going to just put that information right into ChatGPT that I wanted to rewrite. And then we're going to take that over to the AI detector using my tone.
It'll be good to see how that.
Yeah, how it impacts it.
How it impacts that, yes. And what it detects.
Yeah. Because sometimes it will come back like 20% AI. Sometimes it'll still catch it. So you always want to take a look at that. But here's the other thing that I do that will kind of make it sound more like me. I keep, and I tell all of my clients, especially the ones who are writing books, you need to keep a story bank, right? So I'll pull out a story and place it into the content that we are working on, and it will then sound more like a human because I put the stories in. That's all part of making this your brand brilliance. Your stories, your adventures, your insights, that's all part of your brand brilliance. So I'll copy this. We're going to go back over to Quillbot. I'm going to reload it. And let's see what it says.
Have you pasted? No, you haven't pasted it yet, have you?
I didn't paste it. There it goes.
There we go.
Oopsie. Let's analyze it and see what it says. Oh, 100%. That is really interesting. That is really interesting. Let's see.
Okay. All right. So we learned something new. We learned that.
Let's try to paraphrase her and see what happens. Some of this stuff you have to pay for, and I don't have.
This is the free version.
This is the free version.
Okay.
Oh, I got too many words. Oh, so I see what they do. The free version, you don't get that many words to put in there. You only get 121 words, so we're not going to be able to really do it.
Okay. Well, we have been talking.
Anyway, we learned something, right?
We sure did.
That's why I really like Quillbot, because Quillbot is really very good. There are lots of free AI detectors. There's quite a few of them. So you can do just a search and find different ones. And I'm just going to try to see if the paraphraser, I'm still not down. So it's only going to take a little bit because it says 196 characters. Anyway, I don't think we're going to be able to do this because it's just not cooperating.
And it's not, I mean, what the 125 words may not actually make much sense.
125 words is so little. They want you to get the paid version.
Absolutely.
If you make your living by writing, it might be worth it. It might be worth it. But for me, the way I include a lot of my branding into the content that I use, because I put the stories in there, I put quotes in there, I put historical events in there. The way I do it, I very seldom end up with anything that says it's been generated by AI. And maybe another time we can show folks how to do that.
I was just about to say yes, because we're running out of time, but this has been so interesting. Do you mind stop sharing now so that we can come back and the visit can see? Oops, still not showing me. Okay, there we go. And this has really been interesting. I have learned a lot from you, as I'm sure my viewers and listeners have as well. So we are going to have to do a part 2 to this.
Okay.
Because there's so many more questions that I know have not been answered. One of the things I would love for you to do when you do come back is to show us also how to use the Magic Studio with Canva.
Yes.
Because that is AI generated as well. But in the interim, since we do have to close out, if people are looking for you online, Angela, where can they find you?
Probably the best place to find me is over on LinkedIn. I am the real Angela Heath. The real Angela Heath over on LinkedIn. Okay.
So LinkedIn is the best place. Are you on IG?
I am under IG. I'm under my company name, TKC Incorporated, at TKC Incorporated.
Absolutely.
But honestly, I don't spend a lot of time over there. LinkedIn is probably the social media site where I spend most of the time. And you can find me on Facebook as Angela Heath.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And so to my viewers and listeners, I told you that my guests are also always amazing. Angela has been no exception to that. I know I have learned, and I know that you too, viewing, have learned something new, a lot new, I'm sure, about AI. So if you'd like to be a guest on my show, you can reach out to me on my website, which is chattingwiththeexperts.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, just similar to Angela. That's my favorite social media platform. Instagram, you can find me on the handle chat_experts_podcast. And I'm venturing out a little bit more onto Facebook. Just look for me under Paula Okonneh. And if you have enjoyed this show, as I know you have, please drop me a note at paula@chattingwiththeexperts.com and let me know what else you'd love to see and listen to. Angela, it's been a pleasure having you on. And I can't wait for part 2.
Pleasure all mine. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.